right, welcome back to The Real Deal with Empire. I'm your host, Ali Fawaz, and if you've been to this podcast before, welcome back. If you're new to the podcast or to the show, welcome, and I want to remind everybody to make sure that you like, follow, subscribe, so this way, as new episodes drop, you'll be immediately alerted and you'll know when a new episode is actually hitting the podcast. With that being said, as many of you know, we recently released the 2026 Metro Marvels magazine. And this issue, we actually focused on economic development and commerce, which is really interesting because what we did is we actually recognized the communities in Southeast Michigan that are really leading the way in economic development, business growth, and quality of life. So we always appreciate the ability to actually sit down with the leaders that are behind the scenes, contributing to their communities. And we want to hear about the stories that don't always make it on the headlines. So what we're going to dive into are things like the vision, the challenges, and the decisions that actually shape the places that we actually call home here in Metro Detroit. Now, because here on The Real Deal, we don't just talk about transactions, we talk about transformation. Today's guest actually represents one of the communities that was recognized in the Metro Marvels, the City of Plymouth, which actually ranked in our top 20. In fact, they came in number 12 in our ranking. Joining me today is John Buzuvis, the City Economic Development Director. John plays an important role in supporting the local businesses, attracting new investments to the City of Plymouth, strengthening Plymouth's downtown, which is already beautiful, and helping shape the city's long-term economic future. So, John, welcome to The Real Deal with Empire.
Thank you for having you on. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
But of course. So, John, tell us about your professional journey. Like, how did you get into the economic development space?
So, I grew up in the City of Plymouth, and my parents were small business owners in the downtown. And so I was exposed at an early age to kind of commerce and the business community in downtown and kind of the flow and feel of downtown. And so kind of moving through my educational years, I started off in the nonprofit sector after I graduated from college. And I quickly realized I wanted to be in the municipal sector. And so, I went back got my master's degree in public administration. And I actually started as an intern for the City of Plymouth and have been in various roles throughout the years. And ultimately with Economic Development Director for the last couple of years. And no day is the same, which I like.
That is nice.
A lot of variety.
Yeah, that's always a good thing, right? You change up from one day to the next and what your project is and what you're working on. When someone actually asks you what an economic development director does, how do you explain that role?
So I would assume it's different in some ways throughout the municipalities. However, part of the role as I see it and as I experience it is almost like an air traffic controller when you have, different people that are interested in opening a business or doing a residential development or, other things like that, streetscape project or, the different projects. You're kind of the keep everything moving. You're a facilitator. In a way, and relationship builder. A lot of what I do in economic development, and really everybody at the city, is work with. It takes a team,
yeah,
and so creating and maintaining relationships with various stakeholders and partners is a big part of the job.
I'd imagine so.
And just being able to have conversations and, keep things moving and kind of coordinated is really probably the biggest part of the job.
So I'd imagine you're navigating between development projects and developers and the city and what the community wants, and kind of bringing all those pieces together.
Correct. It's and then at times it's working with other levels of government, whether it be Wayne County or the state of Michigan, for certain aspects of the job, coordinating the planning, a review and approval processes, interacting with the community. Change is difficult for some people and exciting for others, and kind of bringing it all to wrapping it up with a bow, so that not everybody always gets exactly what they want, but in the city particularly, we always try and get to yes. And so just kind of sometimes you have to be creative, and that's one of the biggest things I like about the job.
That's nice. So as a lifelong resident of Plymouth, what makes Plymouth unique?
So, one of the things that Plymouth, the city has, one of the main things is we are fortunate enough to have two downtown type commercial districts. And so we have downtown Plymouth, which surrounds Kellogg Park, which is kind of the focal point of our of the biggest downtown that we have. We also have just a little bit east and north another. It's called Old Village, and it's a little bit smaller, but it's another distinct downtown commercial area with different types of restaurants and coffee shops and service establishments and retail. And so that is really pretty cool. We're a pretty small town. We're 2.2 square miles, and to have two distinct, very vibrant and energetic downtown or commercial districts is really really cool. The other thing is there are over 180 special events that take place in the city throughout the course of a year. Yeah. Now, the city doesn't necessarily put all of those on, but they do happen in our community. So there's a lot of coordination, and it brings a lot of people to town for the events. Art in the Park just passed, which is second largest art show in the state behind Ann Arbor. But then even on just a regular evening or day, there are people out and about in town all the time, whether it's in Old Village or in downtown or going in between. And so there really is a lot of energy, and you'll see people sitting in the park or sitting on a bench and reading or having a discussion, and that is one of the really unique things. There's a lot of movement and energy and just kind of organic, people hanging out, just enjoying the surroundings.
We talked about this briefly the other day, how when you go to Europe still has, the town square. And that concept of a town square where you'll be sitting down having a coffee or an espresso or whatever, and it brings the community together. In the evening, everybody's there. People are mingling. They're talking. They're sharing ideas. They're expressing their thoughts. Maybe they're having political discussions.
Right.
It's a meeting place, and it's something that many communities lack here in the States. But when you go to Plymouth, you see that concept actually taking shape or happening there. It's a beautiful thing to see. If you've not been to the park in Plymouth, I highly recommend you go just for a stroll, even just for a stroll or an event that they're putting on over there. It's really an amazing site. So what's the long-term vision for the city's economic development?
The long-term vision is, obviously to have sustainable and consistent not only development practices and processes, so that developers or businesses or anybody else for that matter know what to expect. But like I said, we always try and get to yes, and we will work with people to find creative solutions so that we do have a long-term, we're always thinking about, sometimes things come up and you have to take care of them immediately, but we're always asking ourselves, 10 to 15 years from now, how is this going to impact the community?
Right.
And so when we do any infrastructure or planning for the physical environment, we're always asking ourselves that question. And when we make planning decisions and choices and, from our master plan document that was recently approved, what will be sustainable for the community and what can the community sustain? We are 2.2 square miles, and if somebody is looking for an industrial operation site, we have some, but we don't have a lot. That might be better. We would reach out to a partner in maybe a neighboring community so that organization, maybe they come to the area, but it might not be the best fit for the city. And so we look at, what's the best thing for the community. Yeah. And when we do that, we think of really, Southeast Michigan in general, but, particularly our directly adjacent communities where what's good for them is good for us and what's good for us is good for them. And we can't be everything to everybody. And I think that's part of when you think about longevity and sustainability and an economic development strategy, I think taking a realistic lens of here's what we are good at, here's what we can sustain, how can we help somebody, maybe locate in Plymouth Township or Northville Township or Canton, so that, and then still use our community, our old village and our downtown as their downtown, or at least visit us. So I think, that is really important to keep things in perspective. We're 2.2 square miles. We can't be everything to everybody, but we can partner with our neighbors and other organizations to bring things to a reality.
I mean, you say that, and it's like, you find a niche in that area when you're good at it, then it's like, okay, great, let's go all in on that. Let's be the best at that versus spreading ourselves too thin.
Right.
And I think with Plymouth, there's the school system, actually, the high school, right? Canton Plymouth school system are kind of conjoined, and that the campus there.
Yes.
What an amazing campus.
It is. I graduated from the Plymouth Canton Educational Park, or Plymouth Centennial Educational Park. When I was there, because I'm older now, there was only 2 schools, but it really is a unique attribute. There's not many campuses that size that are high schools, anyways, or that are public schools, not universities. And that partnership, it really, in the Plymouth community and Plymouth area, has always naturally, organically formed from the early 1900s, when people are trying to figure out how to make everything work. And so the school system is a great partner of ours. It's a great highly rated school system, which helps.
Absolutely.
But it is unique there's 6,000 students that go to Plymouth Centennial Educational Park, and which is very unique. It brings an attribute of kids that work in the businesses and come, visit downtown and frequent downtown, go to get their coffee and walk around. And the Pokemon Go people, they love downtown. They love Plymouth.
I'd imagine so. Were there any decisions that were made years ago that are paying off the dividends today?
One of the decisions that was made years ago, and it was an intentional decision for the culture of this city operations in particular, is to be team oriented and not siloed, and be very intentional on the culture of customer service. as for residents and developers and different organizations that we deal with, so that we can always try and get to yes. Now, having said that, sometimes the answer is no. But when we get to that point, it's not for lack of trying. And I think that is one of the key things that really, we'll hear people say, or we'll say sometimes, we do it the Plymouth way. Well, we want what's best for everybody. We're all rowing in the same direction. And so, that culture was initiated, 20 plus years ago and has really survived and thrived. And, one of the biggest things in the mid-90s, there was a streetscape project that was done in the downtown immediately surrounding Kellogg Park. And so my parents were business owners then, and my mom was angry about it every day because the street's torn up and nobody could park. But once it was done, it really set in motion the kind of feeling that is just an organic gathering area for members of our community and people from all over Southeast Michigan. Really were almost like a destination. And in our Old Village area is kind of the same. It's a different vibe, it's a different feel, but there's benches, and you'll see people sitting out on a bench and having a phone call, having a work call. And so some of those intentional decisions 20 or 30 years ago have really set the stage for where we are now. Organically, Kellogg Park in the center is something that you can't recreate. We're very thankful that we have it, and that we get to it's the epicenter, if you will. But some of the intentional decisions on how do we build off that and make this a place where people do want to gather, starting 30 years ago, has been, I think, key for us.
What do you believe creates a vibrant downtown?
A vibrant downtown is a mix of many different things. A mix of retail establishments where you can we have Westbourne Market that is in downtown that they opened, probably about 10 years or so ago now. And, so people can get their groceries and things that they need. And then we have, coffee shops and service establishments, salons, and then, accountants and office buildings with financial planners and attorneys. And so that type of business mix is really important. It's not all, one specific type of business. Mm-hmm. Many of the businesses are, I call them mom and pop owned. They're smaller businesses that are family owned and operated. We do have some second and third locations for businesses. I think so. The availability of different goods and services in restaurants and entertainment type establishments. We have a Penn Theater, which opened in 1941, I believe, that still shows, movies and has other community programming there that kind of draws people to town. And then I think the physical environment of providing seating and we have lighting and people feel safe, to come down and spend the day and make a day of it. In Old Village, it's the same. There's kind of a different business mix over there than you might get in downtown. So you can come and really spend an entire day in the community. We're walkable. Our downtown is walkable. We have a lot of people that will bike into town, lock their bike up and walk. And you can walk over to Old Village, or you can walk from Old Village to the downtown and experience the different types of restaurants and things like that. And we have Friday nights, really during the summer. One of the things, and these started in 1982-ish, we have a Friday night concert series that draws thousands of people to downtown.
I didn't realize that's been going on since 1982.
It's been going on a long time. It actually started on street corners with musicians on street corners, and people kind of congregate. Then it got bigger, and we moved it over into Kellogg Park, and then we actually got a grant from the state to buy a new band shell. So we had a new band shell starting last year, and we'll have thousands of people in downtown on Friday nights for a concert. Thursday evenings, we have a community band concert, which is a community orchestra and band that gets together, and they have a concert every Thursday night. And Wednesday afternoons, we have, we call it the Kitty Concert, but it's a concert where they focus on entertainers for children. And so the variety of entertainment options and reasons to come downtown, whether there's an event going on or not, are really friendly to the older generation and even the younger generation. So there's such a variety that it's just a natural draw for people. The other thing is we're located halfway between Detroit and Ann Arbor.
Yep.
Kind of just off the expressway and kind of tucked in. So, you don't we have traffic and we have vehicles that go through town, but, we're lucky enough to have kind of a little quiet, quaint, where the vehicle traffic, you don't have high-speed vehicles going by, which I think is really a boon to our community.
Definitely. Now, bringing things back a little bit to Metro Marvels, what did it mean to be recognized in Metro Marvels? And then also, what accomplishments are you and your team most proud of that you have accomplished in the last few years?
So, being recognized as one of the premier communities in Southeast Michigan, is very special to us. We sometimes in government work, just to be candid, not everybody calls you with appreciation all the time. Most of the time they're not calling you to say thank you. And so when you do see kind of the fruits of your labor and your passion from a team aspect, be recognized by like Metro Marvels, it kind of reminds you of, okay, this is why what we do is important, and this is why creating a community and continuing to focus on that is important, because it doesn't only serve our residents, it's the entire Southeast Michigan area. And so, it always reminds us, and we're always very appreciative when somebody recognizes, the work that has gone into kind of building the downtown that we have, or the community that we have. And so, as we move forward with things, some of the accomplishments that maybe fly under the radar a little bit. I mentioned we do 180. There are 180 special events that happen in the community throughout the course of the year. And so this past weekend, there's a car show, bumpers, bikes, and bands in our Old Village area. While in our downtown area in Kellogg Park, there was a screening for the World Cup game. And so, it was very busy. Well, it takes a lot of city staff to coordinate and manage that so it all goes smoothly. And so, those are some of the things behind the scenes that just kind of happen and maybe don't get realized, that even though somebody else is maybe sponsoring or producing the event, there's still a lot of city involvement in making it work and working with the event producer to make sure everything goes off without a hitch. So that is always, something that is truly an accomplishment every time an event happens. And then, one of the things that we have recently, it's still kind of in process, but we're working with Wayne County to secure funding, which we expect to get officially approved next week, or hope to have officially approved next week, for a connection from our old village to design and do some preliminary engineering for a pedestrian-friendly connection from our old village to Hines Park, Hines Drive, which is a huge pedestrian runners and joggers and walkers and connection to that is pedestrian friendly, so that we can take advantage of a really pretty area and kind of harness from an economic development standpoint, a connection that opens us up to potentially a whole different group of people that maybe they wouldn't come to town, but they're riding their bike through Hines Park and they go, hey, let's ride up there and let's grab a coffee or grab lunch or go shopping. So
as someone who likes to do the walks along Hines Drive, I can tell you many times where I'd get confused as to where did I go last time to park to get to Hines Drive? Yes. How did I get up there? So what you're touching on really is something that I think impacts a lot of people, because if you can make an easier, we'll call it an on-ramp and off-ramp for pedestrians, it just, I think, would make people's ability to actually engage with the community a little bit easier. Yeah. So how do you measure success as an economic development director?
There's a couple different ways to do it. I think it's a blend of both. There's the data-driven, the statistics, the numbers, vacancies, foot traffic, vehicle traffic, overall sales, things like that, economic impact from events and things like that. The other side, the other part of that to me is the more anecdotal, I guess, where, when I drive through town or I walk through town in the evening and, I see couples and families and people, walking through town and eating ice cream or just sitting and chatting or just taking in the scenery, that's kind of the non-quantitative evidence that we're successful.
Yeah.
And so we're very thankful for that. We're very fortunate to have that. One of the things that our city commission and administration have done, and this is somewhat one of the things that how we measure economic development success and success in other avenues of what we do as a municipality, is we have a 5-year strategic plan that is agreed upon. It's a 5-year plan, and then every year we meet to identify 1-year tasks. And so, we never want to rest on our laurels. We always want to be thinking about what do we do next, what is coming, what is changing, how is the industry changing, and so success is appreciating what we have, but always planning for and monitoring what's changing. For example, automobile use is totally different since COVID. There's more people working from home and there's more people walking. And so, success is partly how are we going to plan for the future, because we can be successful now, but we want to be successful, well, forever, but for years to come.
Yeah.
And so, success can take a lot of different forms. Sometimes it's very hyper-focused, where we've successfully helped a business or a organization achieve one of their goals, whether it's locate, in the city, or develop a program or a partnership. And so there's a lot of ways to measure it. I think the quantitative is important, but the qualitative, where people will say, well, we always come to downtown Plymouth because we love X, Y, or Z, or we always go to Old Village because we really enjoy the breakfast shop or the coffee shop.
Yeah. When it comes to developers, is there, and I know not everybody's obviously looking for the same thing, but is there
Sure.
a trend or a commonality or something that you see repeated when a developer is actually looking for something in particular when they're trying to select a community to come to?
So one of the things that we have realized over the years is one of the most important considerations, at least in my opinion, and in my experience, that a developer looks for is a clear path, whether meaning, they know they might have to go to planning commission and, go through the approval process, but an understandable and predictable path forward that operates in an efficient manner so they can know what to expect. For them, time is money, and so much goes into getting a project even to a concept stage where you might approach a community. And so we have tried and been successful to kind of develop a predictable path, or as predictable as it can be. Sometimes things happen.
Sure.
And that has been important to us, and I think has been useful to some of the developers that we have been able to partner with. A few years ago, Pulte came in. They wanted to use a 10-acre, or almost 15-acre former industrial site as residential, and there were a lot of iterations, and we had to work with the state and the county and all these different, and we were able to do that because we really focused on intentional processes and predictability.
Yeah.
And then being creative when challenges come up. And so when a developer approaches us, the other thing is being honest, saying, well, you know what, I don't know that, it might work, but here's what you need to think about, and maybe it might be better over here. And so, just being realistic and being customer service focused has really helped us achieve things that we're really kind of challenging and maybe outside the box at times. But if you have an open mind and are creative and you're all trying to get to yes, it helps tremendously.
I think developers often are looking for, okay, how many hoops do I have to jump through? So when you can lay out the roadmap, at least as close as you can, then they get a better understanding of, okay, great. So now that I expect these things, I don't think they see them as big of hurdles as a surprise might, suddenly pop up in front of them. So
right.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. If you could change one thing tomorrow to improve Plymouth, what would it be?
Oh man.
It's a good one, isn't it?
That is a good question. One of the things, a challenge is how do we, and I've seen this change so much over the course of my career, is communication has changed so much. When I started, it was all we used to use fax machines, which you remember what they are.
I remember fax machines.
And now people get their information in so many different ways. Yeah. I think if I could change something, or maybe have a better understanding of something, it would be how can we reach as many people as possible? How do we get the information that people need, and we need to be, people to know out in a way that reaches as many people as possible. And so, if there were some sort of magic wand that I could wave and communication and meaningful communication, I think would be one of them, because younger generations, they don't want emails.
You're right. It's text message now.
They want a text message or a snap, or 140 characters or 10 words.
Yeah.
And
the way we consume information now has changed and evolved so much that I think even the mechanisms that we're using keep evolving. So like you said, email's still fairly new, yet we've already turned it into a place for spam. My inbox on Gmail, I'm embarrassed to say, probably has 2,000 unopened emails now, because the majority of it now has become spam. So how do you reach me now? Text message. Right. What's starting to happen in text message is the spam is starting to reach there as well. So it's like, what's the next iteration of this? So I feel your pain.
That is, and I think it's probably the same for any industry, but that is probably, I don't want to call it it's just a challenge, because it changes so quickly. And so, if I had a magic wand, it would be, okay, we hit a button and the information goes to everybody that needs it in a way that they're going to use it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so we're going to change gears a little bit. We're going to get into our fun segment.
Oh.
So this is our quick, lightning, rapid-fire round where we're going to ask you a quick question. You give us a quick answer so we get a better idea of who John Buzuvis is. Did I say it right this time? Buzuvis. John Buzuvis.
I've been called worse. It's okay.
So we're going to get a better chance at knowing who John Buzuvis is. Now, favorite book?
Ooh, All Quiet on the Western Front.
Okay, I got to check that out. Best advice you've ever received?
It's all about relationships.
Ooh, yeah. That's a good one. I was going to say don't eat yellow snow, but that's better.
Yeah.
Hardest leadership lesson.
Sometimes you just have to have the difficult conversations.
Yeah. There was a book called Crucial Conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Great book. Touches on exactly that.
It is. And by avoiding it, it only makes it worse.
Absolutely agree. Dream mentor, living or deceased?
Oh, that's tough. Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, good one. Can't go wrong there. One thing most people misunderstand about success.
It's not final. It's always changing. And to me, and as I'm a little older now, and it's a matter of perspective.
Yeah.
And being appreciative of counting your blessings, so to speak, and understanding that there's probably not a time where everything is going to be perfect and exactly how you want it.
I think that resonates with a lot of people. Hopefully people understand that as well. That was a fun segment.
I liked it.
We're going to go into another fun segment. So this is our last segment. This is what we call Real or Ridiculous. So essentially I'm going to ask you a question, and there's no wrong answer, to be honest. But it's like, hey, is this a real or ridiculous thing to ask or to wish for, let's say, right?
Let's rock and roll.
So every downtown should offer free parking.
That's a tough.
I didn't say they were easy, but there's no wrong answer still.
Well, I'll give you the municipal answer.
Let's go.
I'll give you the governmental guy answer. No parking is free. Somebody is paying for it.
There's a road. That road needs to be repaired. Somebody pays for it.
So, the paid parking is user paid parking is a way to manage your parking system to keep it moving.
Yeah.
Now, the free parking is time-limited parking comes with its own set of challenges. I think it borders on ridiculous that every community could offer free parking.
I guess every community, there's unique situations in different places.
There are, and it is certainly a subject that when you talk about parking,
It's touchy.
lots of people they start reading emails and texts and chats, and so to say that every community should offer free parking is probably
We're going to go ridiculous.
ridiculous.
All right,
Yes.
ridiculous on that. So real or ridiculous, remote work is hurting downtown business districts.
I would probably say that's real.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it really is impacting.
Unfortunately.
From the real estate standpoint, we've seen that it's impacted
Yes.
commercial industry. So it's a real thing on this side for sure. Real or ridiculous, small businesses are the heartbeat of every successful downtown.
Well, that's real.
Yeah, that's an easy one, I think. Real or ridiculous, every city should invest more in walkability than widening roads.
Who sent you? Who gave you these questions? This is like the hot seat. Well, it's almost like parking. 50% of the people would say, I don't walk anywhere. I want a wider road to drive. And 50% of the people would say, well, I don't drive anywhere. I walk everywhere I go. And so, I would say the way that we see people use automobiles, especially with ride sharing, is skewing moving forward. And I think the data reflects this, and a lot of the projects that people are doing is it's real that people are utilizing different forms of transportation, whether it's a scooter or an e-bike. And so probably focusing on the pedestrian aspect of it, whatever they're using, would probably be real. Particularly for a community like City of Plymouth.
Yeah. See, like I want to have my cake and eat it too.
Right.
The idealist in me wants more walkability.
Yes.
Love that. But then I live in Canton Township, and so the overflow traffic from Ford Road, where it's so busy at Ford Road and 275, has now crossed over into Cherry Hill.
Right.
So the other side of me says, oh, really need to widen Cherry Hill, make more lanes there. So
yes.
I want my cake and I want to eat it. So last question for you. Real or ridiculous? Michigan's greatest economic development tool isn't tax incentives. It's quality of life.
Well, I would say that's real.
Yeah. I think that's definitely a real one. Well, John, that is all I've got for you. Hopefully you didn't feel like you were really on a hot seat.
No.
Good. We're glad to have you on this episode. You enlightened us with a lot of great information, insight on what's happening in Plymouth. I do encourage you guys to check out Plymouth if you haven't, and if you haven't, I don't know what rock you've been sitting under. Beautiful city, beautiful downtown, beautiful downtowns. And with that, I want to remind you guys again, please make sure you're liking and following and subscribing to the episode. John, it was a pleasure having you. Thank you for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
We hope to have you again sometime in the future.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.